The night was cold enough to bite through fabric. The rain poured mercilessly against the tin roofs of Maple Street, the narrow lane where Lydia Moreno, a 25-year-old seamstress, lived and worked. Her small tailor shop sat between a bakery and an old bookstore. During the day, it smelled of starch, thread, and hope. But at night, it was quiet, just the hum of her sewing machine and the occasional flicker of her dim yellow bulb. Lydia worked tirelessly, patching torn coats and altering wedding dresses she could never afford. Her hands were rough, her back often aching, yet her heart remained soft. That night, she was sewing late when she heard it. Faint, fragile cries from outside the shop door. At first, she thought it was a stray cat. But as the cries grew louder, she realized it was the sound of babies. Her hands trembled as she opened the door. The wind slapped her face, rain splattering her apron. There, by the doorstep, lay a basket. Inside, 2 newborns, wrapped in a soaked blanket, shivering uncontrollably. "Oh, dear Lord," she gasped, dropping to her knees. The twins, 1 boy, 1 girl, looked only a few days old. Their tiny hands reached upward as if begging for warmth. Lydia's heart broke. She looked around. The street was empty. No one in sight. Only a single note pinned to the blanket. Her fingers shook as she unfolded it. "Please take care of them. I can't. Their father doesn't know. Save them." That was all. No name. No clue. Just heartbreak. Without another thought, Lydia scooped the babies into her arms, pressing them against her chest to warm them. "It's okay, you're safe now," she whispered. That night, Lydia didn't sleep. She boiled water, wrapped the twins in clean towels, and held them until their cries softened. As dawn crept in, she looked at their tiny faces and made a silent promise. "I don't know who you are," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "But from this day on, you are mine." She named the boy Eli and the girl Ella. Weeks turned into months. Lydia worked double shifts, sewing by day, feeding by night. Her hands bled from endless stitching, yet every time she looked at those babies, she smiled. The town called her the Angel Tailor. Neighbors offered old milk bottles, leftover cloth, sometimes even baby shoes. But Lydia refused charity. She wanted to raise them with dignity, not pity. And so, she built a life for 3, simple, quiet, full of love stitched into every seam. Years passed. The twins grew like wildflowers. Eli was curious and fearless, always climbing shelves or tinkering with Lydia's old sewing machine. Ella was gentler, quieter, with eyes that seemed to understand the world far beyond her years. Every morning, they'd sit by the window while Lydia worked, their laughter echoing through the tiny shop. Customers adored them. Some said they brought luck. But Lydia knew the truth. They brought her life. Then one evening, when Eli and Ella turned 6, Lydia found something unexpected. As she was cleaning the storage trunk, the same one where she had first found the twins' blanket, she noticed the corner of another note tucked inside the folds. Her hands froze. She opened it carefully. It wasn't from the mother. It was older, a torn piece of a business envelope. For Mr. A. Voss, Hale Industries. Her heart skipped. She'd seen that name before. Alexander Voss. The billionaire CEO whose name was on billboards, newspapers, and corporate headlines. Could it be? She tried to dismiss it, but the thought wouldn't leave her. Were her twins, the children she'd raised as her own, somehow connected to that man? She stared at their faces that night as they slept peacefully, unaware of the secret written in their blood. And Lydia made another silent vow. "Whatever the truth is, I'll protect you. Always." It had been 8 years since that night. Lydia's shop had grown, small, but steady. She had become known for her handmade dresses, each one crafted with love and precision. Eli and Ella, now 14, helped her after school. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. Until the day everything changed. A luxury black car stopped outside her shop, sleek, foreign, utterly out of place among the worn cobblestones of Maple Street. Lydia looked up from her sewing, startled. A tall man stepped out. Sharp suit, dark eyes, confidence radiating from every movement. He was flanked by 2 assistants, clearly people used to command. He walked into her shop, and the small bell above the door chimed nervously. "Can I help you?" Lydia asked, adjusting her thread-spotted apron. The man's gaze softened slightly when he saw her. "I'm looking for someone," he said. There were reports that 2 children matching a description were seen here years ago. Her pulse quickened. "I don't understand. What children?" He took a deep breath. "Twins. A boy and a girl. They were lost." His voice faltered slightly, the weight of old pain behind it. "They were mine." The world stopped. Lydia's breath caught. "Yours?" He nodded. "I'm Alexander Voss. Their mother was my fiancée. She ran away before the twins were born. I searched for years, but the trail vanished." Lydia's knees nearly buckled. She tried to keep her voice steady. "And now, after all this time, I recently found evidence, a note left at a clinic. It mentioned Maple Street. I had to come." His eyes locked onto hers. "Please, if you know anything." Lydia's lips trembled. "Mr. Voss, Before she could finish, the door burst open. Mom, Eli and Ella ran in, laughing, their school bags bouncing. Eli froze first. Then Ella. Their eyes flicked from Lydia to Alexander. The resemblance was undeniable. Same dark hair. Same piercing gray eyes. Alexander went still. His lips parted, trembling. It's you." The air thickened. Lydia could barely breathe. Eli frowned. "Mom? Who is this man?" Alexander turned to her. "Mom," he whispered, his voice cracking. She nodded weakly, tears already falling. "I found them on my doorstep," she whispered. "I didn't know who they belonged to. I couldn't let them die out there." Alexander's face crumpled, a mixture of grief, shock, and gratitude. He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "All these years, I thought they were gone forever." Lydia hesitated. "I didn't mean to hide them from you. I just wanted them safe." He looked up slowly. "And you did. You saved them. You gave them everything I couldn't." For a long time, no one spoke. The twins stood silently, confused but sensing the truth. Finally, Alexander asked, "May I see them tomorrow? Properly?" Lydia nodded through her tears. That night, as she tucked Eli and Ella into bed, she knew life would never be the same again. The next day, Alexander returned. He spent hours talking with the twins about their dreams, their lives, their love for Lydia. He laughed, cried, and finally admitted something. "I don't want to take them away from you," he said to Lydia quietly. "You're their mother in every way that matters. But can I be part of their lives?" Lydia's heart swelled with relief. Of course. And so began an unlikely friendship between the billionaire who'd lost everything and the seamstress who'd saved it all. Months passed. Alexander visited often, at first awkwardly, but soon, naturally. He'd help Eli with his school projects, teach him about business and responsibility. He'd bring Ella sketchbooks and art supplies, encouraging her creativity. But more than that, he found himself drawn to Lydia, her warmth, her humility, her quiet strength. She never asked for anything, never flaunted what she'd done. She simply kept sewing, kept caring. One evening, as the twins played outside, Alexander lingered by her work table. "You never once asked who I was when I first came," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "Because it didn't matter. You were just a man looking for his children." He studied her for a long moment. "And now I've found them. But I also found something else." She looked up, curious. He smiled gently. "Home." Lydia froze, her needle trembling between her fingers. "Alexander." He took a step closer. "You showed me what real love looks like. I spent years building towers, chasing profits, but you built something greater, hearts." Tears welled in her eyes. "All I did was love them. That's everything," he said quietly. Weeks later, Alexander made an announcement. He was founding a scholarship program for orphans and single parents, in honor of Lydia. He named it the Stitch of Hope Foundation. Lydia tried to protest, but he silenced her gently. You gave 2 lost lives a future. Let's do that for thousands more. On the day of the launch, the twins stood beside them, proud and glowing. Reporters asked questions, cameras flashed, but Alexander didn't talk about business. He told the world about a young woman who found 2 abandoned babies and raised them into light. When the applause filled the hall, Lydia stood in awe, tears streaming down her cheeks. Alexander took her hand, not for show, but for something real. You taught me, he whispered, that family isn't built by blood. It's sown by kindness. That evening, as they returned to Maple Street, Lydia looked around her little shop, now upgraded with Alexander's help, but still filled with warmth and simplicity. The twins were laughing, threading needles, and cutting fabric. Eli looked up. Mom, what should we call our first design line? She smiled softly. How about second chances? Alexander grinned. Perfect. They all laughed together, the sound filling the room, not the polished silence of wealth, but the beautiful noise of a family reborn. Clapperboard final CTA, faceless voiceover style. Headphones. Sometimes the richest people are not those who build empires, but those who build hearts. Lydia thought she saved 2 abandoned babies, but in truth, they saved her. And when their father returned as a billionaire, kindness stitched together what life once tore apart. Speech balloon. If this story touched your heart, share it. You never know whose world you might change with a single act of kindness.